All right, welcome back, everyone, to FOS Live at Radio Row here in New Orleans for Super Bowl 59. And we are joined by Denver Broncos legend, the great wide receiver, Ed McCaffrey. Ed, good to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for that introduction.
All right, so before we get to some things with the NFL, I got to talk about this delicious thing that I just ate just a moment ago. These are McCaffrey protein bites. This one I had is a birthday cake plant-based protein snack. You've got other flavors as well. Tell us a little bit about how you conceived this and put this all together.
Yeah, well, I really wanted to come up with a delicious, healthy food. You know, I started Mustard Products. You're from Colorado. Yep. You might remember we had mustard and horseradish going back to the 1990s.
Yep.
And then recently, you know, I really felt inspired to come up with a healthy snack that was for everybody. So for kids, for adults, it's non-GMO, it's gluten-free, doesn't have any of those horrible things in it. It's plant-based, vegan. We use pea protein in our products, but most healthy food tastes awful.
Yep.
You know, it's like chewing on cardboard. So I think these are delicious. I think they're most delicious, healthy snacks that you can find. And unlike a bar, they're in a little Ziploc, so you can have one bite at a time.
Right, you just take a little bit here and there. And the other thing is like a lot of these things have artificial things in them that taste, terrible for you down the road. So this is great that you created this, that it has better ingredients for you as well. I mean, being a Denver Broncos fan, you've had partnerships with so many brands. What does it take for a brand to pique your interest and that sort of like resonates with you that you would want to work with them?
Well, in the beginning, I created this brand myself. So we have some great manufacturers, really great manufacturers that have been making healthy food products for a long time. They make everything sustainably made. But I didn't want to put my name to anything. There's a lot of products that I've experimented with in other categories that just didn't taste good. And for me, taste was the most important part of it. I love eating healthy food. Again, it's why I came up with mustards and horseradishes in the 90s, because they ate turkey burgers and turkey sandwiches and chicken burgers. Try to eat really healthy, and you eat so many in a row and they're bland and they don't taste good. So you need to add flavor, and that's what spicy brown mustard does, or chipotle mustard, or horseradish. But I wanted to go beyond just condiments and come up with an actual snack that was good for everybody. So I try to eat 5 to 6 meals a day, all breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But those in-between stages between lunch and dinner, you hit a low, you get hangry, and you need something to eat. I can't eat heavy meals in the middle of the day. Or when I was playing, right, we didn't have a lot of options for food right before the game, like 20 minutes before the game, or at halftime, or right after the game. And it's crucial to eat something at halftime if you're in a 3.5 hour, 4 hour contest. Yeah. But you can't stomach a lot of different types of food. So for me, even if it's doing a radio show, right, between breaks, I can eat a couple of bites, have energy for another 20 or 30 minutes, and feel good that I'm eating healthy. And then post recovery, it's really important to have protein. I don't think enough people eat enough protein throughout the day.
No, there's a deficiency.
And it helps you to recover when there's protein in your post-game snack.
Yeah.
So I think kids like it, adults like it. I'm really proud of it. You can get it at McCaffrey.com, but I'm bringing you some.
I love this. I love this. I have lunch today. I'm curious your take also, given the fact that you've had relationships with brands for most of your professional playing career, but you've also coached, in the collegiate level and other levels as well. Your take on NIL right now with a lot of players, what's your sort of take on this? And do you think the kids at UNC Colorado, where you coached, what they should be doing for their NIL deals?
Yeah, well, FCS football is a lot different than FBS football, and the top 10 teams in the country and the top 25 teams in the country have much bigger NIL deals than lower level FBS schools even. Now they've changed the rules at lower levels. If you go to a JC now, they're not counting your years, so you have a couple extra years of eligibility. Look, I think players should be able to be compensated for their name and likeness. So I want to start there. I was a player. It would have been nice when I played to get compensated. It would have been nice when Christian played. He could have got compensated for his name and likeness. But at the same time, it's gotten a little out of control. I do believe there's value in a player committing to a school and staying there if possible. So it sometimes does get, I guess, it gets sad to me that a player can be at 2 or 3 schools because of NIL, and the school that they started out with, who took a chance on him, who gave him a scholarship, can't compete with bigger names. At the same time, we've seen a lot of the best NFL players in the league who transferred multiple times. So while I'm very in favor of players doing what's best for them, I think they need to rein it in a little bit.
Sure.
Have restrictions on the transfer portal in terms of when players can transfer, have restrictions on NIL in terms of players maybe signing contracts I know that the schools have now embraced NIL. It's not just about the collectives. And I'm all for players getting paid at this, and also finding the best opportunity for them to get on the field and play, most importantly. But it's still a new frontier.
Yeah, it's a Wild West,
It
Ed.
really is.
And you
It
mentioned
really
your
is.
son, Christian. I mean, imagine not only just the NIL deals that he would have been able to get at Stanford, but all these other schools that would have been able to pull together money to try to get him to transfer away from Stanford.
Yeah.
It would have been insane
You
for him.
just gave me a good idea.
What is?
We're going to look for some college players to endorse.
Yes, I love
McCaffrey
this. I
protein
love
bites.
that we've inspired this. I love
No, I'm
this.
giving you an assist for that.
I love that. Thank you.
I didn't think of it till this moment.
Let's talk about the NFL. Obviously, playing for the Broncos, you're accustomed to playing the Kansas City Chiefs. We can't get over the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC, but there's a lot of fatigue with NFL fans with the Chiefs right now, and a lot of talk of, okay, look, they're always winning, they're always in the Super Bowl. Some players have said, look, get over that. You're enjoying greatness right now watching Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and others. What's your take on this? Do you like the idea that the Chiefs are always in this all the time, or do you think that this is good for the NFL to see these great superstars at the top of their game?
I think both. I mean, there's 32 teams in the NFL. So if you ask the fan bases of 31 of the teams that aren't the Kansas City Chiefs fans, they probably are not rooting for the Chiefs.
Right.
And I think there's a natural human instinct to kind of root for the underdog or want somebody new to succeed. I think that's pretty normal. I think it's been exasperated by the fact that the Chiefs maybe got a couple of good calls from the officials, which I think turned some people off, whether they were accidentally bad calls or whether, it was a tough call and it went the Chiefs' way. I think a lot of people from other fan bases that aren't Chiefs fan bases, like neutral parties, are kind of thinking, you know what, maybe enough is enough. I do appreciate, though, the greatness of Patrick Mahomes, the greatness of Travis Kelce, the greatness of Andy Reid. And I interviewed a lot of their players, Nick Bolton yesterday, as well as some other players, and I'm impressed with their mentality and their competitiveness and their talent. But, I think it's normal for people to start to root for somebody new. And that's maybe, and it's also really hard to three-peat. It's never been done before. On the other hand, there's some people rooting for a three-peat, people that aren't rooting for either team, but they're like, that would be kind of
cool to see that.
Cool to see history in the making.
Totally. Yeah. I totally agree with you. And look, we talked to Clark Hunt, the owner of the Chiefs yesterday, and he sort of alluded to exactly what you said. People thought of us as the underdog at the beginning and liked that. And obviously sort of the winds have sort of changed because of that over a while. By the way, I forgot to ask you about Christian's health. How is he doing? How's the recovery going for him?
He's doing great. He should be fully healthy this week, by next week, and he'll have a full off season to train. Unlike me, I still have PTSD from last year's Super Bowl. So I haven't recovered yet, but he's recovered and he's healthy. It was a tough season, but I think he's in great shape. He's going to have a full off season, and I think their team is really going to come back strong next year.
And then we have another McCaffrey son that also is in the NFL as well. And how is that seeing Luke doing so well this year? And then, you had two kids in the NFL at the same time.
He had such a fun year. Dan Quinn.
I was hoping he was going to get drafted by Denver. How crazy is that?
They didn't draft any of my kids.
No.
But you know what? It's a match made in heaven for him in Washington. Dan Quinn has just done a phenomenal job. Cliff Kingsbury's back for another year. He could have been a head coach, but he's coming back to be the coordinator. Jaden Daniels, what a star.
What a star.
So what a great opportunity for Luke to kind of start his career with such a talented quarterback and great coaches. So he's in a good place.
One of the other last things I'll get with you is Roger Goodell was asked yesterday in his press conference about the interest in an 18th game, adding that and sort of still shortening the preseason. It still seems like something the NFL seems to be interested in, although they still have to go through the union and talk with the Players Association. What's your take on that? And do you like the idea of shortening the preseason and having more games during the regular season?
Well, I get it's a business. Fans probably like more games, and the NFL will make more money. I think it's more complicated than just adding another game. I think you'll probably have to put in an extra bye week, have 2 bye weeks instead of 1. What are you going to do with players' contracts? Are you going to prorate it and pay them for an extra game on addition to what they're already making? So it's not as easy as just adding a game. I'm not against it if they do it the right way.
Right, exactly. Ed McCaffrey, such a pleasure to have you here. A Ring of Fame like celeb sitting next to me. As a Broncos fan, I'm loving this. And of course, you can get more of his Ed McCaffrey bites. What's the website one more time?
McCaffreybrands.com.
Love that. More FOS coming up. Don't go anywhere, guys.